Hello everyone, welcome back to River and Rune. Thank you guys for joining me on the channel. I'm super excited to see what the runes have to say for this week ahead. Though I did want to start by saying, because I know I haven't mentioned the Celtic calendar in a while. So I just wanted to let you know that we are currently in the month of Rowan. And the Rowan tree is a very powerful tree because it was long used in Druidic traditions to provide protection against negative energy or old forces that one may not want to encounter. It was often planted in very lonely places in the hills to keep out any negative spirits or any entities that may not be desired in those parts. And was often planted in graveyards to prevent energies from disturbing the sleep of the dead. So the idea is that Rowan has a very magical property to it. And its property is connected to its ability to create a safe and sacred space. So having the month of Rowan be in the depths of winter is really significant because it suggests that this month is a lot about understanding our boundaries, understanding how we can utilize our own magic to create light within, to keep ourselves from, well, becoming overwhelmed by the winter, right? By the darkness of winter. And I'm very excited because we're getting close to Imbolc, and Imbolc is Bridget's day. That's her. So it's a beautiful day because it represents the midway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So it's the halfway point between winter and turning into spring. So I'm very excited about that. It's a very magical day. I'm sure you could look up all kinds of fun rituals that you can do for that day. So with that said, let's get to the runes and see what they have to say for this week ahead. We got a lot today. We got a lot today. Oh, I'm so intrigued. Okay. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, just to let you know, usually I will read the runes as if it was a drop in the ocean of time. So, a drop that comes down, what's closest to the center is the present moment, and what ripples out later is essentially the future, right? The things that are to come. Now, what I see here, we have two runes that fell together. So we have Manas and we have Dagas. Now, Manas is really cool because Manas literally means man, or is the rune of mankind. So it connects to our sense of self, who we are as people. It connects to our higher self in a lot of ways. And also, I often associate this rune with expecting help or finding yourself able to connect to people, friendships, relationships, partnerships, business connections, whatever they may be, that will be able to assist you to move forward in life. And also, when it's upright like this, which I like to see, Manas does suggest a deeper connection with one's higher self. So I know last week we had some very heavy energies because we were leaving behind a lot that we no longer needed. We were reevaluating boundaries and all kinds of stuff like that. And this week, it seems that we are in much better spirits, or it seems many of us are, or there's a potential to be. Because Dagas also represents daylight. It represents enlightenment, right? You cannot stop the day from rising. So for many of us, we may have had specific revelations about who we are as people, about what we want to do with our lives, about the decisions that we have to make. Because I know for myself, I've been having some decisions to make in my life, and not all of them were always delegated towards the outward world. Many of the decisions that I had to make were a part of my inner flora, of looking at the garden within myself, within my heart, and deciding which plants I want to prune, which plants I want to keep, which seeds that I planted that perhaps I no longer want there anymore, and trimming, cleaning, organizing my inner garden. So for many of us, I see that we have received a message or perhaps an enlightening conversation with a friend, with a colleague, with someone who we find that is close to us or is close to our values. And this enlightening conversation has brought a lot of change in us. It has brought some sort of revelation. And this revelation is unique because, I feel to go this way. This revelation is unique because we have Algis in merkstav, or Algis in reverse. Now, normally Algis upright represents protection. It represents connection to the higher self, because for those of you who can see, it looks like a person with their hands holding up like this. So it can represent that. It can represent holding up and connecting to the higher principles, but oftentimes it represents protection. It represents guidance on the path or guidance on the journey, which is why it's really beneficial and often used in sigils. But when it's in merkstav position, I usually read this as vulnerability, as becoming aware of one's weakness, becoming aware of the whatever it is, the kinks in the armor, the cracks, you know. But what I find curious is that because of this enlightening revelation, or whatever it may have been, that has brought that illumination to our mind in the past 2 days, it has offered light that almost as if it was flowing through the cracks of a window pane, or the cracks of veneers, you know, whatever it is, like the window blinds, like the light that comes through, right? Or it reminds me of the light that comes through from the clouds, right? When it's a super cloudy day and you see what they call Jacob's ladder, right? Those beams of light that come down. And this kind of vulnerability, these chinks in our armor, are actually offering revelation in terms of who we are as people, right? And associated with this Dagas and Manas here. And then we have Ewas. I love to see this rune. So because, and this feels really interesting. So for many of us, either today, the past 2 days, or within the next days and tomorrow, many of us have just experienced this conversation, or have just had this enlightening meditation, or had just had this light bulb go off, whatever it may be. And it has caused this vulnerability where the light bled through and showed parts of ourselves that we didn't even realize were there, right? And now, here we are with Ewas. This usually is a rune of, the word that comes to mind is stewardship, right? Someone who stands upright, who is tall, strong. This is perseverance. It is trustworthiness, right? But the other aspect of Ewas is walking through the door. It's walking through a doorway. It's a transitional space. It's a liminal energy, right? So whatever this was, whatever this conversation was, whether it was with a friend, or whether it was with yourself during meditation, or perhaps with a therapist or someone who is trusted, right? This manas, this help that we had in the past day, today and yesterday and such, right? Very recent energy. Ewas is suggesting that we're moving into this liminal space. We're walking into something different. We're choosing to walk forward, but we have a choice whether or not we want to pass the threshold, right? And I find that very beautiful because we are coming up to Imbolc, like I had mentioned earlier in the video. And Imbolc is indeed a threshold between winter and spring. It is moving from the darkness of winter into the fertility and bounty of spring. And so this, whatever this revelation was, this conversation was, seems to have a similar effect in our personal life. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple days, perhaps over Friday, over the weekend, many of us may be feeling inspired to try something new, or to take that step that we have been thinking of taking for the past week and a half, or perhaps even for the past few months, and actually decide to take it, right? Finally decide that it's time. And just in time for Imbolc. Now, what I love is that later in the week, as many of us will be taking these steps forward And of course, you don't have to take the step forward right away, right? Because we do have to acknowledge that sometimes the path is difficult. It's not always laid out in front of us. We may not have the financial means to make the decisions we need to make, or perhaps we may not have everything in place yet, right? So be conscious of that and acknowledge where you are and allow yourself the gentleness and the time, because you are a work of art in progress. A tree that's growing. And as I like to say to my friends, you can't yell at a tree to grow, you know? So, but what's coming later in the week, we have Yera and we have Othala. And I love to see these two upright. And I'll make it quick because I feel like I'm getting close to time. So, Yera is beautiful. Yera is about the harvest. It's about reaping what we have sown. It's about cycles and seasons. So I wouldn't be surprised, for many of us who do the tarot, Yera is also connected to the world card, in my estimation, right? It's about closing of cycles and shifting of seasons, or even recognizing cycles to begin with, right? So when it comes to this energy, these kind of revelations that have come through, Yera is suggesting that after the weekend towards Monday and Tuesday, we're going to be feeling this completion of a cycle. Perhaps we're going to put an old thought process to rest. Perhaps we're going to release an old narrative. Or perhaps we're going to wake up and recognize, oh, I've been doing the same thing over and over again, and it may not be beneficial to me anymore. And this reaping of the bounty that has come from this revelation, this initial dagas, this enlightenment, right, is showcased here with Othala at the end of the week. So by Wednesday of next week into Thursday, I wouldn't be surprised if many of us will feel a sense of homecoming, a sense of being more grounded in ourselves, a little bit more secure about where we want to go and what we want from life. And that's a beautiful thing. And I'm very excited for all of us to experience that, and for all of the family here at River and Rune. So that's what the runes have to say for this week. I am still working on the meditation video that I'm going to share with you guys, because I know that was requested, and I still do want to do the 2021 prediction reading, and I felt like it might be time to do that for Imbolc, so February 1st as a special, just because many of us are working through the residual energies of last year in January, and a lot shifts as we pass through the threshold guarded by the goddess Bridget on Imbolc, right? As we pass through the threshold towards spring, right? That's when I feel is the real energy of the new year, the real energy of like, okay, we've had the new year, but now it solidifies. We're moving forward. So I'll probably put the 2021 prediction reading to come out for February 1st. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys for joining me on the channel. I really appreciate you staying here, hanging out, and sharing some time with me at my table. So thank you guys for being here. Love you all, and I will definitely see you next week here on River and Rune. All right? Like and subscribe to the channel if you like this video, which I hope you did. All right. See you guys